Welcome to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show. This is a special edition because it is time and it is very overdue, and I do apologize for this very sincerely. This is entirely my fault. I have been, as many listeners will know, overtaken and overwhelmed, overburdened by my own success. And one of the things, of the various bits of the Milo empire that requires some love and attention, is the Yiannopoulos Privilege Grant. Now, you might remember this from earlier in the year. We gave the story to BuzzFeed, who did a remarkably good job of writing it up, actually. It was very even-handed. The Yiannopoulos Privilege Grant is a scholarship fund for young white men, which I set up because I had identified that they were one of the groups going to university with the least specialized scholarship assistance. Now, we did pass our deadline, I'm sorry to say, for opening applications as a result of, well, I think mostly a sort of over-eagerness and just completely being overwhelmed by the volume of interest in it and the various things I had on my plate. So the good news is I have brought in, this is a good episode because you have two guests. Tom Wood, we're going to be talking to in the second half, but in the first half, I'd like to introduce the world Colin Medine, who is my not only my chief of staff, but is going to become the administrative lead on the Privilege Grant. Hello, Colin.
Hi, Milo. How are you?
I'm good. It's very weird for me to say hello to you in that way because we know each other so well, and you're not really a guest at all, but more part of the family, part of the furniture, even. So yes,
yeah, I was going to say I should probably be on more often because you're being so remarkably nice to me.
Colin's used to get. You see, the bit of the Milo that the world doesn't see is the is the late night emails. Why hasn't this happened? And there's a particular punctuation style when I'm kind of in bed and I've just noticed that something that I wanted didn't happen or didn't happen exactly as I liked it. There's a sort of like one line, no punctuation, two returns, and another line, and two returns, and another line until I get bored of being angry, send it, and fall asleep. And then everyone else is in turmoil while I'm blissfully ignorant, dreaming of Mariah Carey and rainbows. And then I wake up to panic. But no, Colin, if you don't know already, because you haven't encountered him before as my number two, but that's a very rude expression in English. Do you have that in America?
No, we like that.
Like I'm going for a number two? Do you know that expression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't take it that way. But
Anyway, so Colin, you're going to be heading up things. I have to mention, I know that I'm probably going to get in all sorts of trouble for doing this. There's some amazing, because we have to admit, been a little bit lax on communicating with people about this particular thing. I know people are anxious to hear what the latest is because it is a hugely exciting project that we are now going to be giving full vigor and vim and thrust of our attention to. But there are some amazing things going around the internet. I read one of one of them was apparently that I have spent $250,000 on drugs, which is why the Privilege Grant has stalled. Did you see that one?
yeah, I did.
There's a pause there. This is the parental kind of, do we really have to do this? No, I only wish I could get that much up my nose. No, it's an extraordinarily small amount of money to worry about. I mean, I'm not a Clinton after all. But anyway, if you have read some of and there's no point pretending otherwise, there are some weird conspiracy theories on Reddit floating around. You've probably heard them. Anyway, we are getting on track. I'm going to get everything sorted. I'm going to make sure the money goes to the people who deserve it. And Colin, I just want to have a brief chat with you before we have a broader discussion with Tom Wood about the state of higher education in America. Just a brief chat with you about sort of the trajectory, dates, what's going to happen when, so people have a clearer idea of what's going on and what we're going to do in the future better to keep people informed. So give us an idea of what the new timetable is like.
Sure. So right now, we've already started working with your lawyer to get everything set up legally. So we're an official 501c3 charity organization. That'll make it shipshape legally, be its own entity, and that's our first step. Right away, you already mentioned one of the keys from my perspective. We will have more regular communication with the whole range of interested parties, which is donors, people interested in applying for the grant, and everyone else, the general public. We're going to make sure we have monthly updates on our website, and we're going to start using our long neglected Twitter account. I think the key.
It has been neglected because I have refused to allow the team to use it for jokes because I wanted to keep things shipshape and professional, as opposed to the Swag by Milo store, which has become even more of a shitlordy account than mine.
So it's I think mainly the issue, as you alluded to, was that it very, very quickly broke through our limited infrastructure. And something I want to point out that I think is important related to the privilege grant and a lot of things that you touched is, I have been a behind the scenes person for a long time, and you probably remember, because you bring it up sometimes, when we first started talking, like the first half of my email would be, I can't have my name out there.
Yeah. No, I do. I remember.
Now my name's out there because I do work for you. And so I think it's something we face on the right a lot, which is we have a lot of people that are very competent, have a lot of experience. I have corporate experience with project management, product management, making things like this work. But a lot of the people are scared to death of having their name out there, because what happens is they'll turn around and fire you. They don't really care how good you are at your job and how good you are for the company. You have the wrong politics and you're out.
It's true. I mean, this poor guy, Lucian, who did the Twinks for Trump art project. I mean, we wrote a story about him, which I almost feel bad about now. He got fired, was it 5 hours later? They called him in and said, his performance had been perfect up until then, but they sort of suddenly discovered something wrong with his work that they hadn't known about before. Entirely coincidentally, 5 hours after he was identified as the brains behind this art project, which it wasn't even particularly political. It was just a sort of interesting juxtaposition that you wouldn't normally expect to see. These lithe young bodies and these red Make America Great Again hats. You just don't expect.
Why do you suddenly seem so interested in this conversation?
Stop it.
So look at my former employer, a former United Nations employees in Manhattan, and the senior guy was essentially Bernie Sanders, a socialist who drives Alfa Romeo to work. So if they knew that I was working on things like the privilege grant, I would get the axe. So the main reason I bring that up is, we have the capability now. I'm out of the shadows, as it were, and we have a network of people that are still in the shadows, but they still feel the need to help. Almost every day, we get two kinds of emails. One is, oh my God, I can't believe there's finally someone speaking for me. I know you get a lot of drive to continue from those. And the other type is, I'm a conservative. I can never, ever have my name out, but how can I help? So, with the privilege grant, along with regular content, along with getting legal, we're going to start to leverage some of those people to help us in a, very secretive, behind the scenes, double secret password format. But there are a lot of people that want to do things. So what you're going to see, our goal is to have a pilot grant, a pilot run, aimed at helping students entering the spring semester at college. So, over the fall, going into the winter, that's when we're going to be setting up our materials, determining what we're looking for in an application. Then we'll let that out in the wild, accept applications, and sort of build our process for how we approve people, how we select people to receive the grant, do a limited grant for the spring semester so that we can judge that, see what goes right, what's wrong, and then ramp up for the full-blown release for the 2017-18 school year.
This is what happens when I finally get competent people around me. As I hope that you can hear, things are moving ahead swiftly now with this. So I'm very excited to lend my name and of course some money to it too. We're going to be telling you more about that. You can visit privilegegrant.com/news, where there is a more concise version of what we just told you. You can go to privilegegrant.com for the more high-level information about what the grant is, what it's for, who it's for, and why we think it's necessary. And of course, you can follow @privilegegrant on Twitter, one of the Twitter accounts connected to me that is still, at least for the time being, allowed. After the break, we're going to be speaking to Tom Woods, who is a great American historian and commentator. Very interesting things to say. A homeschool tutor or of some kind for the Ron Paul homeschooling program. You can find out what on earth that is and what a libertarian education sounds like. And of course, some of the problems that regular listeners will be very familiar with hearing about from me, which is the crazy infestation of social justice, which has led, of course, to so many of the problems that young white boys are now experiencing, attempting to not just apply for university, but to survive while they're there, dodging these weird consent classes. And then, of course, when they get into the workplace, that 2015 Cornell study, which I never get bored of citing, which showed that women have a 2-to-1 advantage applying for jobs in the STEM field in academia just because they're girls. Well, it might sound odd to you, but things have changed really quite quickly for boys, and they've flipped very recently, I think, perhaps in the last 10 years, to the point where a grant like this isn't just something that winds up the left brilliantly, but is also something very necessary and something that we hope is going to help a lot of people. So you'll be hearing more from me and more from Colin, and you'll be hearing from Tom Woods after the break.